Hey you guys, Susan here. I want to talk about men and war and our land of our inheritance. If we observe children when they fight, more like toddlers even, when they fight, it's usually because they're going through that stage, that ego stage of me, myself, and I. And it is territorial. It's about, this is mine, I want it, I'm gonna have it because I want it, because it's mine, because I want it. And so the kids go about doing this, and the other one says, no, that's not yours, it is mine. Forget it. So it is what it is. We need to observe our own behavior as a humanity and understand that we really, as we grow and develop, we really haven't outgrown that ego stage. We haven't outgrown that stage at all. How is it that in this day and age, after all of this intelligence that we've gathered and all of this psychology that we study and sociology, how is it that we still have these issues? Are we not applying our psychology to prevent war? Why have we been using our psychology to plot war? Don't you know that in our books it clearly says that there's one true God above all humanity? Ignorance is ignorance. And God does not want you to be ignorant of Him. God wants us to bind our notes, understand that we all have our right perspective, our right angle, because we are all in different places, the same one earth, but we have a different perspective because we are where we are on earth, which is down south from God. And God has gathered us and lifted us up into He and He in us. Believe the one in you is greater, and you are a branch, a servant of the one true God. You as an individual and you as individual parts of the whole. And this is our one earth that we need to restore with our God-given intelligence. Obviously, war does not work to solve anything. It is just a downhill spiral, obviously. Because if war were the solution, we would have solved our problem a long time ago. But it is war after war after war. And all of these dead bodies for nothing at all. not for your country. No. How is that benefiting your country to kill your own citizen? How is that for national security to kill your own citizen? How is it for freedom to kill your own citizen? If you fought war with no arms at all, let me rephrase it, with no weapons at all, you would have no choice but to speak among you. You would have no other choice but to speak among you. And you would solve the problem eventually without death, without further expense to your own economies, without destruction, which you yourselves will have to restore, and it will further hurt your economies. So, let us apply our psychology and sociology and let us understand that faith is above religion and God is above our faith. And God is with us all and in us all since the beginning. He left the temple and he promised to return. And we are to return to the Father, because when we draw close to God, He draws close to us. We have already been forgiven. So if we have been forgiven, we need to forgive one another, because we have already been forgiven. We have already been forgiven. We have already been forgiven. I forgive you, you forgive me. Brother forgives brother. That kind of thing. Israel is the people of God. It's not one country. Israel is the people of God. 12 tribes. The land of our inheritance is the entire earth, which is our home. We are Team Earth, fighting evil with good. From within, because we are the body. Do we have to forgive God? No. God has given us life. Does God have to forgive us? He already has. The land of our inheritance has always been there to be seen, but we are covering it up with the world that we created. Because humanity is stubborn. Humanity does not understand that God gave us this beautiful planet for us to enjoy and to respect and to replenish, and for all of us to live in harmony. And we think, that's mine. No, that's mine. And then somebody else comes and says, you, both of you, be quiet. I'm going to divide you. And then it gets worse. I understand judges. I understand why some of these divorces take so long. Because they're hoping and they're giving time for couples to back out of it, to think about it, to fight among themselves and to figure it out among themselves and to make peace among them. Because that is a hard job for a judge to say, you, both of you, be quiet. I'm going to make a decision for you. The child goes here and here. And that's not possible. So if the child goes here, this person loses. If the child goes here, this person loses. And you obviously cannot split the child in two, because the true mother will say no. Just let her have it, the baby. Being a judge is a hard job. But some of these politicians play the role of a judge when they're not. Remember that God is the judge overall. I understand why judges ask for a raise, because it is a tough job being a judge. You feel that you don't get paid enough to do your job. That is too much responsibility for the pay. What about being a police officer who has to follow orders? And they're hated when they follow the orders by the people. But they have to follow the orders. Do they get paid enough? No. They don't get paid enough for that job. Do teachers get paid enough for teaching the children? But they're being trained to write tickets for kids who misbehave. They're overworked, underpaid, and they don't even have helpers oftentimes. I believe that all teachers should have Montessori training. And they then can decide whether they want to be a regular teacher or a Montessori teacher. I'm sure they will choose Montessori. They get to sit on the floor with the children. The children are taught in a totally different way, which is far more effective. Are we creating the future leaders of America and the future leaders of this earth, or future patients by medicating the children instead of meditating at school? We are hypocrites as adults because we teach our children, no violence. And then we teach them at church, Jesus turned his other cheek. That's what Jesus teaches, to turn your other cheek. And then they learn from the movies violence. And that is what sells. And then they grow and develop, and they see the reality. Sex and violence sells. If you make money, you are successful. If you sell drugs, it's bad, but selling drugs makes money. I am poor. What are my choices? Are we giving children good choices? Selling drugs is not good. But selling marijuana is not. Something that deserves long-term prison. We have overcrowded jails. That in itself is criminal. It's a white-collar crime. And that creates chronic debt in America and chronic poverty. And it is a downhill spiral. We need to emulate the good in one another as nations. We are Team Earth. We don't want our future leaders to be future patients, to make the doctors richer. Do the doctors not make enough money? I believe that preventive medicine can make good money. It can make a doctor wealthy by genuinely preventing disease. This is my message for today. I hope that you digest it. And I hope that it was nutritious for your brain. Food for thought. I see Paul and Jeremiah before me all the time. Paul and Jeremiah. The glory of God, and Paul right before the glory of God. And Jeremiah slightly forward and slightly below. Just slightly. What does that mean? Did Jeremiah come before Paul? Or Paul before Jeremiah? What is before? Before. 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 Go ahead. Head. We are one ahead from the inside of He, because we are in the midst of God. You are in the midst. Church. We went up, up, up to the right into He, and He in us simultaneously. And the one in us, in our midst, is greater. Believe in the Spirit of truth.